All right, back in the basement again today to talk about this power bar from Blazzed Fitness, courtesy of Kaylor Woolham, aka Dr. Deadlift. They reached out to me several months ago asking if I'd be interested in trying some of their gym equipment. So Blazzed Fitness, although they import stuff from overseas, they offer everything to kind of satisfy your home gym needs, whether it be bars, plates, racks, machines, whatever the case may be, they sell a lot of it. And Kaylor is kind of like their US representative, spokesperson. It's partnered with them in some sense. They reached out and said, am I interested in anything? And for the most part, I said, no, I wasn't, right? I'm very selective about what comes in the basements, but they said the magic word of, what about a bar? And you know me, bar don't lie. I can't deny. I said, bring them on. So they sent me two barbells. This is one of the two they sent me, both of which are designated as Lone Star power bars. This one is in stainless steel, 20 kg with thin competition style collars. The other Lone Star power bar they sent me is their red, white, and blue one, which as the name probably denotes, you can tell that it's colored. So it's a Cerakote bar with blue sleeves actually, which is pretty unique, but I wanted to bring you this one first because this is the type of bar that I train with most frequently here in the basement. And in fact, if you didn't read the title, if you didn't hear that intro, and you just saw a picture of this bar sitting in my rack, I think you'd be hard pressed to tell me what manufacturer made this barbell. And that's a good and a bad thing. It's good because it's very similar to other bars the type of use. It's stainless steel, looks probably pretty good from your viewpoint. The downside is bars like this, especially imported, seem to be more and more prevalent on the market, and a lot of them are made from the same factories, and there's not much to differentiate them between all the other bars out there. So that being said, let's start with the easiest way to tell what this bar is, and that is at the very end on the end cap. This has a star on there, but it's not your typical star where it's just like a sticker or something like that. It's actually very similar to what I would consider like a challenge coin where it has a raised star on it. It's thick, it covers the entirety of the end cap, so there's no snap rings that are visible. In order to get to the internals of the barbell, you would have to remove that coin. As part of the shipping process, they threw in a couple of extra, so hopefully I can find them for the B-roll to show you exactly what those look like without having to peel off the adhesive on these ones in particular. But it's different, it's unique. It's kind of similar to what like Rep is doing with their new line of barbells or Fringe Sport. A lot of people like those. I'm kind of impartial to it, but that's an easy way to distinguish what this bar is. Coming in further from the sleeves, this barbell has what I would consider ribbed sleeves, probably a medium ribbing, not as big or aggressive as something like the Bells of Steel power bar, but also not something as muted or smooth as the new updated Rogue bars that are out there. So if you don't like ribbing, this is a bar you might not want to look at because it definitely has it. It's definitely pronounced and you can feel it. I do find that ribbing helps keep the plates on the bar a little bit better, but a lot of that's kind of thrown out the window if you have a good pair of collars or something like that. So depending on what you're looking for, just know that this does have ribbed sleeves. Coming to the collar themselves, I mentioned this one in particular does have the thin style IPF collar. That's going to keep the weights in closer, which is going to make the bar stiffer overall as you load it with heavy weights. Interestingly enough, the other version of this bar that they sent, which is still a Lone Star power bar, obviously in Cerakote in that case, red, white, and blue, it actually has thicker collars on there. So they're quite different bars in my opinion, and they maybe want to update the name a little bit, but that's just my own personal opinion. Coming inside to the actual collar itself, you have some laser etching. It tells you the company name, it tells you the bar name, it tells you the bar weight, 20 kg, and the bar diameter, 29 millimeters. 29 millimeters should be standard across all power bars in my opinion, but that's just me again. So this is a nice little touch, not necessary by any means, but I do think it adds to the overall bar. Speaking of the sleeves and the collars and all that, they sit on this shaft very well, meaning that it has very tight tolerances. There's literally like no slop or float on this. So we've done drop tests in the past. I'm not going to do on this video. Just know that the sleeves here aren't going anywhere. There's literally no wiggle room. My rack is wiggling more than the sleeves on this bar are. So they're very well put together in that regard. Speaking of well put together, as we transition to the shaft itself, I mentioned already, stainless steel, 29 millimeters. It does not go all the way to the sleeves, which I like, and I call that out because on a lot of the import bars that I have, I actually have been finding that a lot of the knurling has gone all the way to the sleeves and in some cases under, which isn't always a problem, but if there is some slop in the sleeve, it can lead to issues with the bar rotating. Rotation on a power bar isn't something you should be super concerned about, but this does rotate smoothly, albeit slowly, as it should for a power bar, but I do like how it does terminate a little bit early before heading under because again, on a lot of the import bars I've seen, that hasn't been the case. Speaking of the knurling itself, I would say this is a medium to passive knurling. Maybe I should say passive to medium. If I had to put it on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd give it about a 5. It's kind of right in the middle. It has some grip, but not any extra thing with a bite or overly grippy. It's also not passive like you'll find in some other gym or beater bars. I'd say it's like right in the middle. Personally speaking, I look for more of like a 7 to an 8 out of 10 when I'm looking for a power bar, just because I'm looking for something that I get really good grip with. And obviously this works for squatting, it works for benching, it works for deadlifting without issue, but just given the choice of so many bars today, I would personally prefer one that's a little bit more on the aggressive side. Doesn't have to be sharp, but you can still be aggressive, so you could dig deeper or increase the actual, or decrease I should say, the actual TPI or the pitch of the knurling to have deeper cuts here on the actual volcanoes, which this is, and I'll show you close-ups in some B-roll as we speak. Coming to the actual ring marks, you just have the standard powerlifting ones, which are great. If you take a look at the product page, it actually mentions dual ring marks. I don't know if they count this as 1 and this is 2, but typically when I see dual ring marks on a barbell, it's because it has Olympic lifting rings on there too. This one obviously doesn't, being a power bar, but just something that they might want to update on the product page. I will say the termination points here are super clean. They're really nicely done, in fact, better than Rogue, meaning that there's not any kind of oversplay in terms of where the knurling starts and stops. So it's a really nice looking ring, which I like. Same thing at the termination points here before you get to the smooth parts and the center knurl, which is your more standard center knurl. Again, what I've seen a lot on the import bars is they've been maxing out the allowable center knurl mark, which personally I prefer just for squatting, and I don't find it gets in the way for deadlifting. Not a deal breaker by any means, just again, given the choice, I would go a little bit wider on the center knurl. And that's the Blazzed Fitness Lone Star stainless steel power bar, right? What else is there to say? Well, a couple of things. Number one, overall, let me just be clear. I was sent this for free, no cost to me, and this is a serviceable power bar, meaning I was able to implement this in my training, and there was no issues that I had. I mentioned some things that I'd like to see, like a little bit more aggressive knurling, a little bit bigger center knurling, but it didn't stop me from squatting, benching, or deadlifting or having impactful workouts. There's nothing that took away where I said I can't do X, Y, Z because of this particular bar. However, that being said, it is kind of bland in my opinion when you compare it against other bars in the market. So again, I would rather have something that's a little bit more aggressive, maybe a little bit smoother sleeves, maybe a little bit bigger center knurl, maybe end caps that are accessible. And that doesn't really matter to me, but maybe it does to you. But this bar just doesn't stand out to me in any one particular way, which means it can get lost in a crowd. However, when I take into consideration the price of this bar, which is listed for $579, that actually throws up kind of a big red flag for me. And the reason I say that is because there are plenty of other power bars out there which has things that I'm looking for, which have much better price points. So just for consideration, my daily drivers as of right now are the Rogue Ohio Power Bar 20 kg stainless steel with the updated sleeves, which means they're smoother and tighter tolerances. Shipped to my door, that's gonna be under $500. So that's $80 less than this. This has free shipping, but again, even with Rogue shipping and taxes included, it's still substantially less than this bar. The other daily driver I use almost all the time is my Hansu stainless steel power bar, which has a list price of $600, which it never sells for $600. It's listed on sale right now for $399. If you use a discount code like my own, Basement, shameless plug of course, that gets it down to like $350. It's out of stock right now though. Almost had you, I'm sure. But the point being is that you can get better bars, in my opinion, for less. Now, if other things don't matter to you as much, like these thin collars, like if you don't care about thin collars, but you want a nice stainless steel power bar, you can get stuff from Rep, either their single black diamond, it might just be called their black diamond power bar, or their double black diamond power bar, which is a great, fantastic bar, stainless steel, nice tolerances, good knurling on it, as the name implies, double black diamond, for instance. You can get that for under $400 delivered to your door. And there's a lot of other options out there too. So for me, for this bar, given what it is and where it comes from and who it comes from, I would feel like a price point for this, just comparing it to what's in the market and what you get for this, to be somewhere between the $350 to $400 range. Now, what's interesting enough is the other version of this bar that they sent me, which has some other features like Cerakote, a little bit thicker collars as well, that actually has a list price of $599, so even more expensive than this, but they have it marked on sale right now for $399, so $200 off. I think if they put this bar on that same special, $200 off or about $379, I think that would be a better placement for this bar, again, given the fact what you get, who you get it from, and what the other market competition is providing you at around that same price point. That's just me though. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.